little bit about the exploit, and tell you how we can help you with some of the products that we have with application security, and then we'll just leave it to questions. So again, we thank you for joining. The actual presentation portion should take no longer than 20 minutes, and then we'll leave it up to question and answer at the end. So we're going to go ahead and get started and talk a little bit about the actual situation. So a major Oracle vulnerability was disclosed at Ecoparty down in Argentina by one of our researchers from Team Shatter, Esteban Martinez-Fallo. And this was originally reported to Oracle in May 2010. Now this particular vulnerability affects Oracle 11G Release 1 and Release 2 and the database. Older systems are not vulnerable. Oracle did release a fix for the actual vulnerability that we're going to talk about today in patch set 11.203. But this actual fix requires database and all clients to be updated to 11.203, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. There are also other workarounds available, but there are some strings attached with that, and we'll walk you through all the possible workarounds as well. So let's get into the vulnerability details. So the actual detail of the vulnerability, it's an offline brute force password guessing vulnerability. And this gives the attacker the ability to perform an unlimited password guessing attempt without causing any failed logins or locking out any accounts. And when we actually go through the exploit, you'll see exactly what this means. The vulnerability details happens in the weakness in the Oracle 011 login protocol. Now, it was a great thing when 11G came out. This 011 protocol was introduced to improve the security of the authentication system. A couple things that you'll note here on the slide is it made passwords case sensitive, it improved hashing algorithms, and moved to a stronger crypto. So that was great and all, but there's an actual weakness in this login protocol that we found. This particular vulnerability is remotely exploitable without authentication. So the attack requires only a valid unlocked account, and obviously SIS would be the primary choice. Most of the times, SIS is an unlocked account, a valid account in your database. And with the SIS password, the attacker can own the database. So we'll walk you through the example when we look at the exploit. For anybody that's interested about the CVE reference, the CVE reference here is CVE 2012-3137 if you need to look up more details on that. So what we're going to do next is really look at the exploit here. And what I have here on my screen, you'll see in the background I have Wireshark running because we need to capture some information. And what you're going to see here is the command prompt, and I'm going to blow this up a little bit so you can see the details here. So first thing that we're going to do here is actually try to log in with the SIS account with no password, and obviously we're going to see invalid user password login denied, so a failed login attempt. So we actually try to log in. And we need this information because we need to get some information from Wireshark, and you'll see here, because this is what we're going to use to actually exploit the vulnerability. So what you see here in what Wireshark captured, you'll see something here down at the bottom right corner, auth ses key, and we get the session key. The other thing we have is the auth VFR data. These two things are the important things that we want to capture because that's what we're going to use to exploit this particular vulnerability. So again, we try to log into the database, so we actually make that attempted connection. We get the auth ses key here, so the auth and session key and the auth VR data. That's what we're going to use. So if I go back to my command prompt here, you're going to see us we basically have a utility that we created to do our brute force passing. You see this under our C util stealth cracking, and this is something that we created ourselves. And you can see under the -SK, that was what we got from that actual auth session key, and the -salt is the VFR data. So that's what we got there. So once we have that information, we're using our utility, and we go ahead and run our proof of concept brute force cracking. So again, this is going up. You can see there the session key, the salt with the data that we gathered from the Wireshark when we try to actually log in. And now this is doing our normal cracking of what we wanted to do with our brute force utility that we're using. And you'll see it's going through and going through. You see, 8.8 million passwords tried, 1.8 seconds, 1.8 million, and you can see that it's on password, and then it eventually finds a match. The match for this password is eco12, and it will go ahead and terminate our actual utility, and now we have the password for SYS. Okay, that's all we needed. Again, we only needed those 2 pieces of information when we did our failed login attempt, and we got that information here, and we ran our utility using that information, and we were able to offline crack the password again to get the information for that SYS account. So let's go ahead and try to log in with the newly found password that we have. So we're going to log in SQL Plus using SYS with the newly found password that they have, eco12, log in as SysDBA. We're able to connect, and we're going to go check to see what user we're using. Show user. We show that user is the SYS. So again, quickly right there, we had very small amount of information. We just had those 2 pieces of data points, the actual the session key and the auth VR data, and we were able to use our own utility, a password cracking utility, to get this information all done offline. Okay. The interesting thing that you'll see here at the top, you also see that I used my client was 11.107, and you'll see that I'm actually on the patch database version 11.203, and what we talked about was these 2 actually had to match, and we had to set some rules for it to actually not to actually have exploited. So you can see that my client was not matching my database, and obviously we didn't have some rules set, so we were able to do it. And that was the simple exploit that happens here. So let's talk about what you need to do to fix this particular issue. You need to upgrade your databases to 11.203. You need to also upgrade your clients to 11.203. And once you do that, you need to enable the 0.12 login protocol on the database that this was introduced in 11.203 patch set. In order to do this, you can just go to your SQLnet.aura file and set the parameter to log on version 12. And again, once you've enabled this parameter, your clients older than 11.203 will not be able to connect to the database. So again, this is a thing where you have to understand what your client is and what your database is, and make sure you do your proper matching in order for this particular vulnerability to be worked on. So there are some workarounds available. Today, Oracle has their critical patch update that's coming out today. And they do have a patch here for this, so you can apply the patch as a potential workaround, and we'll see more details of what Oracle did to fix this as they release this out today. So you get some information there. The other workaround that's available is to downgrade your login protocol to 0.10. So there's some things that you need to do here. You need to there's some commands here that you see. Alter system set to set case sensitive login to false. Then you need to regenerate your password file and things like that. And again, notice that downgrading to the 0.10 protocol makes passwords case insensitive, where case sensitivity came in 0.11. So there is that catch that we talked about in the beginning with the workaround. So there's give and take. There's some strings attached here. So let's talk about using best practices to further limit your risk. You want to use strong passwords, right? This is a brute force attack happening. So, this is a password guessing attack. Long random passwords will take a very long time to guess. So a combination of password complexity, a combination of actually changing your passwords, maybe 30, 45 days, limit your risk to being attacked this way. Use external authentication. This attack exploits the Oracle native authentication protocol, right? So external authentication via LDAP or through OS is not always vulnerable, but again, you're not going to have your SYS account attached to your OS pretty much, right? So there's give and take, some strings attached there. Other ways to limit your risk are to implement valid node checking, and that, again, limits the host that can connect to your database to limit the attacker's ability to access your system. So you set that up, set up your actual IP node that can connect to it, therefore you're limiting your risk as well. The other thing that you can do to further limit your risk is use database activity monitoring to alert on any suspicious access to sensitive data. So you know that once the attacker is in, they can be monitored like any other user, so you want to make sure you're monitoring that particular user. Set up your alerts for any unusual access to any of your critical systems as well. So there's a bunch of things to limit your risk. There's clear workarounds, and there's clear actual remediation for this particular vulnerability. So where does that leave your organization? Completely vulnerable. This is urgent. This is a CVSS 10 score that came out. So any 11G database that you have, including Exadata, this is as severe as it gets. Again, this was an offline cracking vulnerability. We did not have to log into the database. We only had to have one failed login attempt to get some information. We didn't need any privileges here. We just needed a way to actually brute force the actual account to get the actual password. Again, all offline. So what we at Application Security, how can we help you, right? We can help you identify your exploitable systems and users. So Team Shatter Knowledge Base Update 421 checks for these. Now, the Shatter Knowledge Base was out for about a month now, so if you haven't gotten that as a customer, we encourage you to do so. Any app-detected user can obviously hit their update button to get to the latest Knowledge Base 421. Any DB Protect user, make sure you log on to your customer support portal and grab that latest knowledge base update so you guys have this available and start scanning today. On the DB Protect side, we have a new database activity monitoring report that you can get that correlates the events that are to find possible stealth password attacks. So you want to be able to come to our support portal, make sure you get the report through a content release, analytics content release, as well as get the 421 release. And obviously, just as always, we're here for any advice, guidance, security, intelligence. We're here to answer any of your questions. Contact us directly, ask them here at the webinar, and we can get your questions answered. So this is an example of the actual checks that we added to the actual products. If you're looking at Detective Pro or if you're a DB Protect user, you get these checks within your system. So there's two checks here. One called Account Vulnerable to Unlimited Offline Password Guessing. The other one called Allowed Login Protocol Vulnerable to Unlimited Offline Password Guessing. If you go to the policy editor within Audit Policies, within the Oracle, you'll see these under the Identification and Password Control category right at the top. So those two are the checks that you want to enable and create a custom policy with just those two checks so you can figure out today exactly where you're vulnerable. When it actually comes back with results, you're going to have these actual vulnerability details that come back. Again, the account vulnerable to unlimited offline password guessing is going to identify the accounts vulnerable to this actual vulnerability. So it's going to give you back all the accounts that might be can be used to do this actual password cracking attempt. The allowed login protocol vulnerable check is going to tell you what your database version is set to, and to see if it's set to 11.203. So you know right off the bat, if you scan all your oracles, you can understand what actual version you're up to. If you need to go to 11.203, make sure you do so. And again, you would have to update your clients as well and properly enable the security login protocol to 012. That's basically it as far as what we wanted to discuss as far as the details of the vulnerability. What you can do as well as contact us anytime. We have teamshatter.com, as always, to keep you updated with the latest vulnerabilities out there around databases and other issues. A quick recap of everything here. We discussed about the actual particular vulnerability called the Oracle Stealth Password Cracking vulnerability. It affects Oracle 11G R1 and R2, and it can be done, again, remotely exploitable. Zero authentication is needed. Zero privileges are needed. You just need some information by trying to log in, and you get the session key and the VFR data, and then you're able to run a brute force attack. There are some things that you need to do. Get up to 11.203 both on your client and database side. There are some workarounds. Again, as we mentioned, there is a critical patch update from Oracle today that you can apply as well, and we'll read the details as that gets shipped today. And there's also the ability to downgrade to the 010 client driver. So right now we'll go back to Jeff to see if there's any questions from the audience.
Thanks very much, Mark. We do have a question that's coming in. It's a popular question we get every webinar. And the first question we'll talk about is, will we receive a recorded version of this presentation? Answer is yes. We'll have a recorded version within the next 24 to 48 hours. So look for an email in that time frame on how you can go about obtaining that particular recording. The next question talks about systems and users. How do you know that the user password is sys when you cracked it?
So the question
This
is, how do you know?
This was asked, Mark, back when, just to give you some framework, back during the middle of your presentation when you were going through one of the screens.
Okay, so let me try to see if I understand this question correctly. Is the question really around, can it only be a sys account that can be used? The answer is no, it doesn't have to be a sys account. It can be any account that's unlocked, and we can guarantee that the sys account is unlocked within your database system within Oracle. So it could be any account that is unlocked that you can do this on. Sys being the one that we know that's pretty much unlocked all the time, and it's a very high privilege user, is something that the attacker is going to want to exploit and use that particular account to get the most privileges once they're in. But it can be used against any other account that's unlocked.
Great. So next question is, can I download a copy of the utility, the Aura Session VF utility?
That particular tool that was discussed in the presentation is our own Team Shatter's utility that they have for their own research. That's something that is not going to be published or anything like that. That's used for our own internal research for our team to understand this particular vulnerability. So it will not actually be disclosed to the public.
Okay, great. This next question, how do you crack the password with offline mode? Wouldn't you have to get the hash first?
What's in the hash?
Yeah, you don't need the hash because we're actually brute forcing the hash. The only thing that we needed was the session key and the VFR data because we're actually brute forcing. So we don't need the hash. We're actually brute forcing against the hash, and that's what the utility is doing.
Okay, great. Next question talks about being on the network or not. Does the attacker need to be on the local network, or is all they need is a connection of some sort, say, through the internet?
Now, you don't need to be specifically on network. If you could log into that, try to log into that database like we did, I could have been remotely doing this anywhere. It's a remotely exploitable vulnerability. Zero authentication needed. We just needed to try to log in to get that actual session key information, the VFR data, and that's all we needed. Put that in the utility and able to run the offline cracking.
Okay, great. We have time for just a couple more questions. And it's about the Oracle patch that's now coming out. Will it fix the issue for 11G that is lower than 11.2.0.3? So
that patch is coming out today. We have not read all the details on it, so we'll see. Preliminary information that we read about it, it should do something to fix this actual issue. But once the patch is released, we'll get more information. And you could again look to teamshatter.com to get an analysis of the critical patch update patch, and you'll be able to get more information once we actually analyze all the details in that.
Great. Just some more questions coming in about the different version numbers. Once you upgrade to that 11.2.0.3, are you finished, or do you still need to do other mitigation? So what else do you need to do once you upgrade, or is the upgrade enough, assuming that it works?
Okay. So again, there's two critical points that we want to mention here. It's not. You could apply the patch and you do your upgrade to patch 11.2.03, apply the patch. Again, you still have to update your clients as well for this to all happen, because if you upgrade the patch on the database side, you don't update the client, you're still actually vulnerable there because you have to be talking the same protocol here. So that's those are the 2 points that we want to make. You have to update on both sides for the actual fix. For the CPU that's coming out today, again, we're not certain on what it's going to fix on the database side and the client side, so we have to find out a little bit more information about that. It may be something where you're just applying the patch, you don't have to do anything on the client side. We're not positive exactly what the fixes involved there yet. But the information that we do know is that the fix that was there with the 11.203 patch set was that you had to update the database as well as the client and then set your login protocol to 012.
Great. What is the, do either of you two know what the CV number is off the top of your head? That's a question that's come in, and if not, we do have that available on our Team Shatter website.
It should be up on the screen now. It's CVE 2012-3137.
Thanks. Can you talk a little bit about your software? Does it do a complete review of Oracle, users, patches, vulnerabilities, suggest patches, or updates to implement? I think the question really is around what else besides the Oracle vulnerability does the solution offer?
Sure, absolutely. So our solutions, our product line with our vulnerability assessment capability is able to do not just this vulnerability, not just this patch, not this particular user. We're able to do full-blown assessment of your Oracle database, understand how things are working within the security settings, security configuration, see if you're misconfigured, other vulnerabilities that have come out for Oracle, all your critical patch updates, all your patch sets, all the different users that can lead to privilege escalation. So we check for anything and everything at your Oracle level to help you understand what your security posture is for that particular Oracle database. And we not only do it for Oracle, we do it for all the other database platforms, Microsoft SQL Server, Sybase, IBM DB2, IBM DB2 ZOS, Lotus Notes Domino, and also MySQL.
Great, thanks, Mark. Time for one last question, and that question is, even if your own clients and servers get updated, can the attacker somehow force a version downgrade?
No. Once you've set your clients and your databases to 11.203, we have not seen in our research of the vulnerability of what we found that they cannot force the downgrade. That particular working fix that's there, database and client up to 11.203, it fixes the issue.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for attending today's session. Again, we will have a recording of the session available within the next 24 to 48 hours, so please look for a link in your email with more information on how to get that particular, how to get this recording. Mark, any last minute thoughts?
Last minute thoughts are just for everybody out there that's on the call today. Again, this is a CVSS 10 score, so you want to take this vulnerability very urgently. If you're a customer of ours, obviously we want to make sure you're up to the latest knowledge base 421. Get that, enable that within your system, create a custom policy with those two checks. Run them now and understand how you're vulnerable today. And if you need any help from us, we're always here to help. You can contact us support team. You can contact your account executive. You can always follow us on teamshatter.com.